Hey everyone, it's the 28th of March and the nation is on official lockdown. So it's the afternoon and I have decided what better way to amuse myself than to pot on my tomato seedlings. So this is the first transplanting, and it basically goes from the seed tray into a pot this size, and it will stay in this pot for about another month or 5 weeks, and then it'll go into the polytunnel. So I wanted to run through just the process of how I transplant. So the mix I use, as I have probably mentioned before, is half living green, which is this here, and also half of my own garden compost. So this is what I've mixed the two of them in here, just mix them up quite well on the bench, and then I kind of eyeballed the seaweed dust, but I probably put 4 or 5 handfuls of seaweed dust as well. So that just gives it an extra little bit of a boost. So that's the mix that I'll use when transplanting the tomatoes. Now, as you can see here, the tomatoes have come on really well. They're not struggling at all. The only thing I would say is they do need to be transplanted because they're all in close proximity to each other. You can see they'll start to compete for light. So yeah, so this is how again, when you're transplanting, don't pull the seedling from the top. Push it out from the bottom. Again, I just use a bit of a stick. So you can see there, the root ball is nicely formed. It's not too packed, so they're not pot bound. And also I watered the tray before transplanting. That's really important. So then what I do is I half fill the pot with the compost mix. Then I put the transplant in, I kind of wedge it down, and then I cover it up with soil. Tomatoes can be planted a little deeper. They do form aerial roots, so if you bury them deeper, if they become leggy, you can drop them a little bit deeper and then roots will form out of the stem. So this is one plant that you actually can bury them a little bit deeper. So then I put them in the seed tray there, and once I fill the seed tray, you can see over here, I come down here and I water it. So I've just watered this tray. So they are just a little bit, they flop a little bit initially, but they'll be fine in another 15 minutes. They'll come up and then they'll go into the propagator. Now, I always run into a little bit of difficulty here for space. So because I have probably 150 plants, I put as many as I can in this the propagator, and then the remainder will come up here on the bench. So what I do is I turn this bench into sort of a cloche, and what I'll do is I have a double layer of fleece, so any of the plants that can't fit in the propagator will go on here, and then I'll cover the whole thing with the double layer of fleece at night. But for the most part, what I'll do is I'll put as many of the warm loving plants in the propagator, and plants like the scallions, the cabbages and the broccoli, they can remain out on the bench because they are frost hardy. So yeah, so that's just the basics of transplanting tomatoes. And just to mention, I have a few different types of tomatoes that I grow, but this one here, this tray, this is Sindel F1, which is a hybrid, but I grow it for a farmer who likes this particular variety. It really sells well at his market, so he will take all the tomatoes that I have during the season, so I grow that for him. Other varieties that I grow Sun Gold, I would grow the Brandywines, Orange Paste. There's a few different ones that are all heirloom, open pollinated, which means I can save the seeds of those ones, so I would grow some of those for my own customers. So yeah, that's just a couple of points on transplanting tomatoes.